So one of the first things that Assassin's Creed fans always think about when a new game is released is the setting and in which time period the game is going to take place. And while in the past we've obviously seen a lot of different settings, from Italy to Egypt to the Caribbean, and we will for sure be seeing a lot of other different settings in the future. And I thought about that topic in the last couple of days, which settings for me would be the best in an Assassin's Creed game. So my fifth favorite setting would be the Mongol Empire from the 12th and 13th century. And obviously back then Genghis Khan was the ruler and also the most powerful man in the world and one of the most powerful men in history, to be exact. I mean, if you think about it, the Genghis Khan Empire was the largest land empire in history. I mean if you just think about it, it literally stretched from Japan to the Middle East and ran from Russia to the Himalaya mountains, so the empire was just enormous. And obviously due to it being so huge, there was also a lot of different cultures living in it. And if you probably think about it, it's very hard to imagine that the Assassins and the Templars didn't get involved in some way or another in the Mongol Empire. And a setting like that would absolutely fit into the Assassin's Creed franchise. I mean, obviously it's impossible to recreate the whole Mongol Empire because it was just too big. But if you think about it, you have a huge city of Beijing that was founded actually by the Mongols. And there were also a lot of historical figures involved in the Mongol Empire, like Marco Polo or Genghis Khan obviously. And when it comes to the intrigue that could be playing in the game, there are obviously unlimited options. I mean, just a fact for you to think about. Genghis Khan's DNA is present in about 16 million men alive today. I really want you to think about that. He lived in the early 13th century. He died in 1227, I think. And still today, 16 million people are his descendants. I mean, that's just incredible if you think about it. I mean, that guy, he had to be a very, very busy man in his time. A very busy and desired man. That has to be a part of some Assassin's Creed game in the future. And now the fourth setting on today's list are the Napoleonic Wars from 1803 to 1815. And similar to Genghis Khan, Napoleon Bonaparte was also a bad motherfucker in human history. And if you remember, we already met him in Assassin's Creed Unity, but he wasn't near the ruler that he turned out to be. And it will be very interesting how he developed after Assassin's Creed Unity was finished. And another thing why I chose this setting is because Paris, in my opinion, was literally one of the greatest settings in the Assassin's Creed franchise. And I was torn between Paris in World War II or the Napoleonic Wars because it had buildings like the Eiffel Tower included. I mean, we were also able to visit Paris during World War I or World War II, I think. So I would really like a setting in the Napoleonic Wars in a future Assassin's Creed game. And if you think about it, in a game like that, we wouldn't only have Paris. You have cities like Barcelona, which was occupied in that time period, which would also make a great scenery for an Assassin's Creed game. And now the third setting that I have on today's list is Feudal Japan. I mean, come on, I don't have to say much here. I mean, Japan in the late 1400s is a setting that a lot of people in the Assassin's Creed community would be very interested in. But especially after Ghost of Tsushima came out, for me at least, I would not be as hyped as I would be for other settings because we were able to explore it already in a very great game like Ghost of Tsushima is. And to be fair, it was also very similar to an Assassin's Creed game, but Feudal Japan still is a setting that I would love to see someday, because the story of it would also have a lot of possibilities, maybe even with Ezio, who also traveled to Japan after Revelations, so it would make a lot of sense to include a game that is taking place in Feudal Japan for the Assassin's Creed franchise. And now my second favorite setting that I would like to see in an Assassin's Creed game would be medieval Europe in the late 1200s. And I have to say that I would have not thought about medieval Europe at all if we didn't have the short playtime in Assassin's Creed Unity, which was actually taking place in medieval Europe. I don't know if you remember it, I'll play some clips in the background, but that small gameplay chunk was enough to make me extremely excited for a whole Assassin's Creed game that is set in medieval Europe. And obviously we have a lot of incredible medieval games that came out in the last decades. I even made a video last week talking about the 10 best medieval open world games. And I think we won't get around an Assassin's Creed game that is based in Central Europe in the medieval times. I mean, we already had some games like Valhalla or Assassin's Creed 1 that took place in medieval times, but obviously the scenery was completely different because Central Europe in that time was an extremely both dark and beautiful place. And it would be very easy to implement the Templars and the Assassins into a scenery like that. So I really hope that we will be able to discover Central Europe in medieval times in an Assassin's Creed game in the near future. And now my most anticipated and probably favorite setting that we didn't have in an Assassin's Creed game would be the Roman Empire. I mean, we were able to explore the Roman Empire in Assassin's Creed Origins because a big part of Egypt was part of it, but here I mean the European bit of the Roman Empire. I mean, just imagine visiting Rome 70 years before Christ. I mean, you have so much potential there, you know, the Colosseum, gladiator fights, and to be fair, the Roman Empire also had a great chunk of provinces spread throughout the world. So what I could think about would be open world that is structured like the open world from Assassin's Creed 2, where you don't have one huge open world, but you have a couple of smaller worlds that maybe contain some of the provinces that were part of the Roman Empire in that time period. And also if you play the Ezio trilogy or a lot of other Assassin's Creed games, there is a huge amount of references towards the Roman Empire, and I think the Assassins also had a big role in that historical period. Obviously they were not really formed because Bayek formed them in Assassin's Creed Origins, but still the group of the Templars and the Assassins already existed in the time, but there will be so much possibilities when it came to the open world also. So the Roman Empire for me is also a setting that we can't get around in the future when it comes to the Assassin's Creed franchise. And so that was my list of my 5 most favorite and most anticipated settings in the Assassin's Creed franchise. There are also a lot of other ones that I would like to see, like the Persian Empire or World War II, but those ones were the most that I would be most hyped for, definitely. And I'm also really interested in what your favorite settings would be. Do you somewhat agree with my list, or are there completely different settings that you would like to see in an upcoming Assassin's Creed game? I would be very happy if you could share your thoughts down in the comments, and if you could subscribe to the channel if you like open world games like Assassin's Creed. Alright guys, that was it from me in today's video. I hope you have an amazing day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.